As a Christian, following Jesus' teachings is paramount, and many have begun to question the necessity of vaccines in their lives. The argument that vaccines are necessary for Christians who follow Jesus stems from a deep-seated trust in God's sovereignty and provision. Throughout the Bible, there are numerous accounts of miracles, healings, and divine interventions that demonstrate God's power and care for his people. For instance, Jesus' ministry was marked by countless healings, from the blind man at Bethesda to the woman with the issue of blood, showcasing God's ability to redeem and restore human life. The concept of faith and healing is deeply rooted in Christian theology. Many Christians believe that their faith in God's power to heal is sufficient to protect them from illnesses and diseases. This conviction is based on biblical passages such as Psalm 103:3, which states that God heals all your diseases, and Exodus 15:26, which promises that God will take away sickness from among you. These verses, among others, have led some Christians to conclude that vaccines, which are a product of human ingenuity, are not necessary for those who have placed their trust in God's divine healing. Moreover, some Christians argue that the use of vaccines implies a lack of faith in God's provision. By relying on vaccines, they believe that individuals are, in effect, doubting God's ability to protect them from harm. This perspective is rooted in the idea that faith and works are mutually exclusive, and that true faith is demonstrated by relying solely on God's power, rather than human means. For example, the story of the Israelites in the wilderness, who were instructed to look to God for their daily provision, including protection from snakes and other dangers, serves as a model for trusting in God's care and provision. Another argument presented by some Christians is that vaccines can be seen as a form of idolatry, where human creations are elevated to a position of reverence and trust, rather than God. This line of reasoning suggests that by placing one's faith in vaccines, individuals are, in effect, worshipping a false god, the god of human ingenuity and medical science. This perspective is based on the biblical principle that God alone is to be worshipped and trusted, and that any other object or system of thought that supplants God is, by definition, idolatrous. However, it is essential to acknowledge that not all Christians share this perspective on vaccines. Many Christian denominations and leaders have encouraged their members to get vaccinated, citing biblical principles such as loving one's neighbor and caring for the vulnerable. The early Christian church, for instance, was known for its compassion and care for the sick, and many Christians today see vaccination as a way to demonstrate love and concern for those around them. Ultimately, the decision to forego vaccines is a personal one, based on individual convictions and biblical interpretations. While some Christians may choose to rely solely on God's power to protect them from illness, others may see vaccines as a tool created by God to aid in the preservation of human life. As the Apostle Paul wrote in Romans 14:5, each of us should be fully convinced in our own mind, highlighting the importance of personal conviction and faith in making decisions about vaccination. In conclusion, the argument that vaccines are necessary for Christians who follow Jesus is rooted in a deep-seated trust in God's sovereignty and provision. While this perspective may not be universally accepted among Christians, it reflects a sincere desire to rely on God's power and care, rather than human means. As Christians navigate the complex issue of vaccination, it is essential to approach the topic with humility, compassion, and a commitment to loving one's neighbor, regardless of the decision made. By acknowledging the diversity of perspectives within the Christian community, we can foster a deeper understanding and respect for the various ways in which Christians seek to follow Jesus' teachings in the context of vaccination.